Hey there, guys, and welcome back to another episode of EFT Fittings or Eve Ship Fittings. This is Hendrik Taladar for CrossingZebras.com, and I'm joined by JEFFRAIDER. And last time we talked about the rattlesnake. This time we're going to be talking about another nice beefy ship called the Myrmidon. And Jeff, why don't we get taken away with it?
Alrighty, so last time we did the rattlesnake and it was like, what, 25 minutes? This time we're going to do the Myrmidon, but I want to get 3 fittings done, so I'm going to be a little quicker this time. So, gonna start a new fitting for a Myrm, and I really like the Myrm because there's a lot of ways you can fit. It's a very versatile ship, so I'm just going to show you 3 fittings that I think I would fly, basically. So we'll call this one CZ1. Cool, so what do we got with the Myrm here? Let's just check the bonuses real quick. Are you seeing that? Or... yeah, it's not showing up for me either. Doesn't matter. Basically, it's got an armor rep bonus and I think a drone bonus of some sort. Alright, cool. So, the first one I want to go for is a shield tanking one. It works because it's got 5 mid slots, a lot of low slots, so why don't we just get started. So first thing we're going to do is add drones. 200 meter drone bay, 100 bandwidth. That basically means 4 heavies, or 3 heavies and 2 mediums. So let's just add some drones here. I'm going to add Ogre 2s. And I'll explain why in a bit. So Ogre 2s, let's go for 4. And actually, just so you guys know, let's have a look at the difference with 2 hammerheads as well, replacing one of the ogres. So right now, we've got 380 DPS. We're just going to quickly deactivate this drone, add another hammerhead, and so we're back to 380 DPS. So basically, the choice is between having a 4th heavy drone, which will assist with alpha, or having 2 medium drones, which will have better tracking and damage application for smaller things. Personally, I'm just going to go with 4 ogres. I really like drone alpha. Look at that, 1521. That's a lot for smaller ships. It's just womps. All right, so low slots. Start with the damage control as usual. There's very few ships I run without a damage control. There's a few oddball scenarios in like fleet ships where you're using a lot of armor hardeners and that sort of thing, or maybe a reactive control. But for most ships, we're just going to run the damage control. So I'm going to add 3 drone damage amps. Brings us up to an already respectable 635 deeps. Now we want to shield tank. So let's start with mid slots. We're going to add a micro warp drive. The micro warp drive in this scenario they're going to fit is necessary. Obviously a micro jump drive is always an option for other fits as well, or probably not an afterburner. I don't think I'd like that in any scenario. Cool. So we got MWD. Now we got 4 mid slots left. I want to shield tank this, which means large shield extenders. So we're going to add at least 2, so I'm pretty solid on that already. So, large shield. Cool. Alright, so we're up to 41k EHP. That's nice. We haven't added rigs yet. Not too bad. Now, since we're using 4 ogres, I'm going to want a warp scrambler. And we're going to use the faint epsilon, the metaphor we talked about last week. It's going to have better heat spreading, and it's still the same length, or same range as T2. And then we're going to add a web, a fleeting propulsion inhibitor, the metaphor web. Cool. So now we've got a ship that does 635 deeps. It's kind of slow at 1120 meters, but it can overheat up to 1589. Not too bad. The agility is just terrible. Even without this, still 8.6 seconds, slow to move, and it's 2.5 AU second. So a little slow to warp as well. All right, let's add some high slots. Is this working? Hang on. I've got it on my other screen. Just want to see if it gets any sort of hybrid bonus. And of course it isn't. Okay, who cares? No big deal. We're going to add heavy neutron blasters though, because with this kind of setup, you want to go for max DPS, because we've just got a shield buffer tank, so killing our target quickly is going to be really important for us, so we're just going to go full on deeps, and since we have a scram and a web, we'll be able to apply that DPS really well. And basically, I'm going to use Void here, which is the short range, high damage ammo. I'm pretty comfortable using Void in any scenario where I've got a web. You see the optimal here is 3.4 plus 3.1. That's perfect for close range engagements. And then we're going to go ahead and add damage mods for these because we've got the 2 slots. Now, here's something. Let's try something first before we do that. See where we get with 2 nanofibers. Because I said it's a bit slow at 1120. It's pretty poor to align. Let's just see what this does. So that gives us 1880. And helps the agility out a lot. I think I'd rather have more damage, honestly. You're not going to outrun anybody at 1880. You're not going to catch anybody at 1880. Basically, the point of this micro warp drive is just to move us towards somebody. Oh, sorry, you probably heard that. Yeah. Anyway, it's to move us in towards somebody that that wants to fight us or is really slow, like for example a battleship, which would be a risky fight anyways. Almost no any battleship. So let's get rid of these. Let's add some magnetic field stabs. Boom. All right, look at that. We're up to 1,000 DPS now to this battleship or this battlecruiser, and I'm going to add core defense field extenders. Generally, when you're shield buffer tanking, you want to add in a anti-EM rig. A lot of the times I'm quite comfortable just not doing that and having an EM hole and just being aware of it. We'll just have a look though. So right now we got 50k, 51k EHP, glaring EM hole. So let's just open this up. Quickly try a T1 EM. Gives us the same result as far as EHP, a little less, like 800 less, but now we don't have the huge hold, which I think in this situation on balance is probably going to be better. So we can overheat these guns for how long? A minute and a half. So that's pretty respectable, really. I mean, that's, you know, the bulk of the fight, generally, especially when you're applying 1115 deeps. One thing to notice is you go from 1052 to 1115. So there's no situation where you want to risk burning your guns out here. It only adds 60 DPS, 65 DPS. So you do want to overheat. In fact, you want to overheat your guns in basically every solo fight. But just be aware, you're not really getting that great an investment for a risk of burning them out. So make sure to control your heat. All right, so here we are. So this is basically the ship fitted. This I would be pretty comfortable roaming 0-0 with. I'd be less comfortable roaming Faction Warfare Low Sec. Reason for that is Faction Warfare Low Sec is filled with frigates with afterburners and self reps like shield boosters or armor repairs. And that's a bad situation for this ship if it gets in close. If something gets in close, sure, I've got it scram webbed. If it's got an afterburner, it doesn't care about the scram. So it'll still be doing, you know, I'm just going to random ship guess, like 500 or 600 meters a second, which is probably way too much for these neutrons to track. The drones will probably track it a little better, but he'll be able to kill the drones. And heavy drones are cool. They got a lot of EHP, but not that much. I mean, probably a frigate will kill one every 30 to 45 seconds. And with the drone bay on this, you don't really have... I'm just thinking that basically an afterburning frigate could probably win the race to kill all your drones. And then you just sit there while you choose through your 50k HP. The reason I like this better in 0-0 is more frigates are micro warp drive fit, so the scram will come into play more, and you see a lot of interdictors in 0-0, and this will just munch them. Like, sabers won't live 20 seconds against this kind of DPS and DPS application. And for the rest of the drone bay, another 100 meters. I like to normally grab a couple extra drones, and I think I'm going to use Berserkers. Less DPS than the Ogre, but better tracking and speed. So I'll throw 2 of those in there. Or, yeah, I'm actually going to throw 3 extra heavies in, and then a flight of Warrior 2s. So this will help you out in the scenario of a feisty little frigate tackling you. But, you know, generally I expect to just use my Ogres and try and overheat and blast somebody's face. So, that's the first one. And honestly, this is a pretty decent amount of value you're getting. It's 80 million ISK, all fit out like this. I haven't added ammo, so probably more like 85. You're able to insure it. I'm not sure for how much, but just a ballpark guess, it'll cut 20 million off the price. So it's actually a really affordable way to get 1,000 DPS. 50k HP is not too bad. Cap, just fine. I think this is pretty good value for roaming. Cool, so any questions or anything about that one, Hendrik?
No, it seems pretty much straightforward.
It's a very straightforward ship. No finesse in the piloting of it. Just try and scram web something and blap it. Okay, cool. Let's go for the second setup here. Call this one CZ2. Now, the Myrmidon is one of its most revered and also common configurations is the triple rep Myrm. So let's try that out now. So generally you want medium armor repairs here. I'm going to add 2 of those, and then I'm going to add an ancillary armor repper. So the way AARs work is they use nanite paste. They can hold 8 rounds, basically 8 shots of it. And if I overheat this, you'll see here it repairs 939 armor every cycle, and the duration is 7.65 seconds. And then the standard armor repair 2 only gets 556. So it's a beefy repper, but only for a certain amount of time. The cool thing with them, though, is unlike the ASB, which either uses ship-draining amounts of capacitor when it's out of charges, this can keep running without nanite paste at a greatly reduced amount of shield rep. So this only repairs 313, about a T1 rep basically, but it's better than nothing. So once we use all our big charges, we've still got a little value out of it. Basically just not left in the reload phase of an ancillary shield booster. So let's spread these out for heat sakes. Whoops. All right, cool. And see, right now we're repping 276 DPS. That's nothing, but we also haven't really added any resists or any of that sort of stuff. So I'm going to add a damage control as usual. And then definitely at least one Energize Adaptive Nano. And then we have a decision here for the last slot. We can go with a drone damage amp or a second E&M. Let's just leave it empty for right now and see what it looks like with drones. So drones again, I'm going to be using... I'm going to use the Ogres again, I think, on this one. And we already... basically, the drone bays will be the same on these ships, so we won't worry about the other 100 meters. Right, so 380 deeps. Let's see what we get out of a drone damage amp here. So we get about 90 DPS. That's not too bad. But the nature of a triple rep ship is to survive against odds for as long as it can. So I think, let's just have a look here. We're tanking 433 DPS overheated now. This gives us 120 extra DPS tank. So if it's a straight up DPS versus tank race against one ship, the extra E&M is going to be better. Now, that doesn't take into scenarios where the 100 DPS would help you kill the guy you're fighting faster, or the 70 DPS would help you kill the guy faster you're fighting and get away before the gang shows up. But basically, a ship like this is not really the kind of thing where you just blap one thing and run. You're sort of stuck for the duration. Cool. So we'll leave it like this for now. All right. So mid slots. This kind of ship, I am looking to get tackled in. I don't think I'm going to add a micro warp drive to this one. I'm going to definitely go for the micro jump drive to give us an option to escape in the middle of the fight. So let's turn that off. Cool. Now, our cap lasts right now minute 9. That's nothing. That's not going to work for us. So we're going to go ahead and add on a couple medium cap boosters. And I'm just using the metaphor electrochemical one. Let's just quickly compare here. Here's a T2 cap booster. They can both fit the Navy 800 boost, so no real advantage there. Durations for the same, exactly the same. So basically, this is another situation of the metaphor just being better. You see the metaphor's got a capacity of only 32, whereas the T2's got a capacity of 40. Doesn't matter in this case due to the size of the cap 800. So we're just going to go with 2 metaphors here. All right. And we got 2 slots left. I think you guys have learned by now that I really like the Scram Web combination on all my ships, because I really like, once I get somebody, to just be there to apply DPS to them as good as possible. So I'm just going to go with that. Now, let's leave the high slots for a moment and go for rigs. Now, we're probably going to want some repair rigs on here. So that starts with an auxiliary nano pump. Oops, aux. Alrighty. Just type quieter, Hendrik. Doesn't matter. Okay, so the difference between, there's 2 rigs that will help us get more repair damage here. There's the auxiliary nano pump and the nanobot accelerator. So let's just have a quick look at what each of them do. Nanobot cuts the duration down. The aux nano adds a mount. So normally you like a nice balance of this. To get the peak DPS rep numbers, you want to go for 3 nanobots, but that's not really what works best in an actual situation, because the faster you're doing this, let's just try it out here. I'm going to turn these off so you can see. Let's go for 3 nano pumps. We're up to 730, but these are cycling much faster now and taking more cap. So you kind of want to mix them up a bit and get, oh, so those are aux nano. No, let's do nanobots. So we got 730 with aux nanos. Nanobots get us to 901, so they're cycling much faster. Our cap's going away faster. You generally want a nice mix. So I'm going to go for 2 aux nanos and 1 nanobot here for a nice kind of balance. Now we're at 815, but our cap's better by about 17 seconds. Not that that matters, because we're just going to fire one of these bad boys every few minutes. And you see it's stable like this as well. Now, cap stability with injectors is basically a function of how many cap charges you have, what kind of nuke pressure you're under, and how you're timing the boosts. So this is going to be a big part of your attention during the fight. You get your Scram Web on, you start doing damage, and then you start focusing on your capacitor and your tank. And you're not going to want to have these overheated the whole time either. You see them last a minute 30. And you're going to want to be very judicious about when you fire the AAR. So that's the bulk of your management during the fight. Like if we see right here, without running the AAR, we can tank 500 DPS. That's pretty good against most ships, honestly. I mean, if it's a big face-melting 1000 DPS Myrm like we saw before, we're probably not going to be able to tank that, even with all 3 fired with no boosts. Let me just show you actually real quick what a damnation does for this. Bam! Links are amazing on active tank ships. I don't like to fly with them just because it's a lot of effort. Sorry about that. It's my email. But actually, I'm just going to shut that down real quick because that is annoying. All right, cool. Yeah, but yeah, I can't even remember what I was saying. Doesn't matter. So we still got 5 empty high slots here. So we've got options here. A couple other options that are kind of cool. We can either go blasters again and see how those fit, or we can try autocannons. And autocannons have been a fairly common choice for Myrmidon pilots that are using active tanks because they don't take up any capacitor. And I don't think they're going to add much damage, though. So we're at 380 DPS there. Let me just turn that off so we see what we get out of our guns here. So let's try some, let's say, I wonder if we can fit ion blasters on here. So we're going to try and add heavy ions. 208 DPS. Doesn't even come close to fitting, so we're probably going to have to try electrons then. Market group. The electrons. 194 DPS. Kinda, we could maybe squeeze it on, make it fit somehow. This is just telling me to go try autocannons. I mean, really, it's not, none of them are going to be doing that much DPS, so why don't we see what 220s look like. 155, and still doesn't fit. Probably going to have to squeeze on 180s here. Another option you could do is add neutralizers, small newts and small nosses here. I don't really like that much. I think you already got enough going on with your capacitor. So I'm just going to try these dual 180s out here. Okay, those fit 1%. We can make that work. I generally don't mind 1% implants, so we're just going to leave it like that. If you did want to fix that, like let's say you hate implants or you've got something in that 6 slot that you don't want to get rid of, you can just drop one of these down to an accommodation. I think that's the metaphor. And it fits like that. But for our purposes, let's just leave it. All right, so, and the dual 180s are actually going to be kind of nice because they're going to track really well. And they're also going to have good range inside web range. They should apply damage pretty far inside web range. So if something's orbiting us at like 7,000, these autocannons are going to be doing a good job on it. And what are we up to here? 547 DPS. Pretty low, but this ship has good sustainability. So I'd like this ship. I think this ship's good for low sec. It's okay for 0-0. Generally in 0-0, you really want to clear the tacklers off fast and go. So the shield room's probably going to be better for that. But yeah, and one thing I will talk about this is implants, or a booster. So the ship right now costs 75 million. Standard Exile, which is the shield and mount booster, is I think about 5 to 8 million a pop or something. So it's kind of worth it just to fire one of these in here. You see it adds 160 DPS tanked, which is really nice. But it's got these penalties, 3 out of 4 of which are not that great for us. But it doesn't really kill us too much, you know, like, what are we doing here? We lose 3k EHP from the armor. Tracking I'm not even going to bother looking at. And capacitor is the one that kind of hurts us the worst. Because we lose 500 base cap, which kind of sucks. But we get lucky or we have good drug skills and don't get anything. I think the Exile booster is a good choice here. Cool. How about that one, Hendrik? Pretty standard?
Yeah, that's pretty much...
Yes. This is pretty much a bog standard triple rep Myrm. With now I think it's more powerful with micro jump drive added. All right, third and final one, and this is kind of my personal favorite. Right, CZ3. We see that the Myrmidon has a rep bonus, and we also see that it's capable of doing a lot of damage. And so basically, I'm going to kind of try and find a middle ground with this fit. So I'm going to do a buffer and armor tank. So that starts with a 1600mm plate. We're going to go for a T2 one, groovy. And then a medium ancillary armor booster, armor repair. Now, let's just talk about this for a quick sec here. I'm probably going to use Trimarks, so I'm just going to cut to the chase with those. Okay, let's do a little math real quick. I like doing math. So this adds 4,800 shields. In reality, it adds more. So we're at 17,680, okay? What's this going to add for us? Overheated adds 939. It gets 8 shots. Let's grab my trusty calculator here. 939 times 8 equals 7,512. So this is basically adding 7,512 armor to your thing. Now let's just see what would happen if we were to add another 1,600 plate. So we're currently at 1,760. This would add about 10 grand, but this would leave us almost no room for fitting, so we're probably stuck with a greasy 800mm plate that still gives us some fitting options. That only adds 5,000. So for basically we're doing about with the equivalent of 1200mm plate with that ancillary armor booster, but for far less fitting. It's only taking up 120. So that's the way I kind of treat this. This isn't for me to sustain tank somebody. This is just to add that 7,500 armor over the course of the fight. And basically just pretend it's like buffer on demand kind of idea, or yeah, or just a fight sustainer. So what else do we want from the low slots? So for this, I'm trying to find a balance between damage and tank, because we've had two extreme fits on either end. Energize adaptive nano. Where is it? There we go. And then I'm going to do 2 drone damage amps on this, and we're going to see where it comes out. All right, mid slots. I don't know. What are we thinking about doing with this ship? We're solo PvPing. We want to get some kills. We've got 62k EHP, which is respectable already. In reality, it's probably more like 75k EHP once you add in the ancillary armor upper, which is really good. I think I'm going to do a micro jump dive on this. I think with armor, it's going to be even slower than the shield version. So I'm just going to have the same game plan of getting caught and fighting it out. Now, do we need a cap booster on this? The answer is probably. You see we got 7 minutes on here. That's pretty good. I don't know, I'm kind of going back and forth now. I already fit this out with a cap booster once when I was thinking about doing this. But 7 minutes is pretty darn good. Well, let's just, you know what, tell you what, let's leave the cap booster question for now. Let's add in Scram Web combo that we like, Faint Eps, and Fleeting Propulsion. That still leaves us 2 mid slots, which let's just leave it for a minute. Now, we want to get max deep, so I'm just going to add in the ogres here, see where we're at with the 2 drone damage amps. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. 561 already, great. And since we got tricky with this ancillary armor upper and saved ourselves hundreds and hundreds of grid, now we can capitalize on that by adding blasters. So I'm pretty sure this isn't going to fit, but let's try it. Heavy ion blasters, that's a big nope. So let's try electron blasters. And if you guys see what I'm doing here in EFT, the right-click thing, open market group, super useful. I just do it all the time, so just a quick recommendation there. Hey, they fit. And we've got, 40 grid left, which rules out a medium cap booster. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Boom, Void, 810 DPS, love it. This ship now has a pretty lethal combination of DPS and tank. This is respectable on both sides of the argument, DPS or tank. And we've still got 2 free mid slots. So let's add in a small cap booster now, because now we only have 4 minutes of cap, and the reality is that we're going to lose all these electrons and our rep if we face nuke pressure. So a small cap booster, and this is the T2 version, will hold 1 Navy 400 charge, which is really nice. So we've only got 3,500 cap, so the trick with this is this adds 400 cap each boost. We just have a look here. The duration is 12 seconds, reload's 10 seconds, so you only get it every 22 seconds, basically. You can overheat it, and I would recommend always having this overheated. It'll save you 2.4 seconds on each burst. And the trick to this is firing early. So right when the fight starts, as soon as you look like you're missing 400 capacitor, 500 capacitor, fire it then and keep it firing the whole time. That'll delay the amount of time it takes for you to get to 0 cap and then get capped out while waiting for the reload. So start early on this, and same with the ancillary armor wrapper. You don't want to bait tank. You want to make sure you maximize your chances for firing all 8, so start right away. As soon as you think that you've lost 939 armor, fire away. But don't overboost, but generally want to stay in the high end. You don't want to go in the low end of your armor unless you have to. So yeah, now we've got 1 more mid slot. Cool. So we know this isn't going to be anything that takes grid, so it's not going to be a dual prop thing. Got the cap boosters issue settled. I think I'd like to add another web. This gives us just insane damage application with these ogres. And another option would be maybe a painter, or maybe an ECCM. I don't really care too much about ECCM these days. ECM is really not being used quite as much as it used to be. And with ogres, oftentimes when someone shows up in a Blackbird or a Griffin or something, starts jamming you out, your ogres will be good friends and just head over and kill it. So I'm just going to ignore that. And I just love dual web ships. Like the damage application, like let's see what this volley is again. The drone volley is 2244. This means that any frigate that grabs you is going to be taking a huge volley. And this even applies to the faction warfare. The nifty little afterburning repping ships with 2 webs on them, taking 2,200 damage, 2,200 volley. That means they're not going to live through many volleys. So I love this ship for fighting in any environment now. And we've got the micro jump drive, so we can kill stuff within scram range really nicely, and micro jump drive out. So out of the 3 fits, I would fly any of them, but this is the one I probably am going to fly. I just really like the fact that it does everything well. It's got lots of options to fight a ton of different stuff. You can fight a gang with this, kill its tackle and leave. You can probably successfully 1v1 other battle cruisers, maybe battleships. I don't know. The thing is, the battle cruiser is the worst possible thing to fight a battleship with. The battleships are, big fish in that pond. You can't really, like with the signature radius on this 300, you're only going to be mitigating 3/4 of battleship guns, and then if they have any sort of damage application enhancers like webs or painters or anything, you're getting hit for full damage. And most battleships would have a very favorable comparison between 6,300, let's say 75k HP, and 810 DPS. Most battleships do better than that. But yeah, this should be great fun to fight. I'd probably consider going. Yeah, I'll do the 3 berserkers and 5 warriors for this as well. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I really like this ship. I think this is a winning fit that you can have a lot of different plans with. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun in 0-0 and in Losec. So that's my 3 ships. Oh, actually, one sec though. Let's just run through real quick. So this one, 50k, 1k DPS. This one, 38k, 550 DPS, but 1,000 tanked. And this one, nice balance of about 75k HP, 300 active tanked, and 800. So this is a really nice middle point. But any of these 3 ships work really well, I think. Cool. I think that's about it.
So which one do you think would be the most fun to fly in as a solo player versus saying having a couple guys, like say a small fleet of like 10 or so people?
Yeah, this one is probably going to be the most engaging because seriously, managing 2 cap boosters and 3 reps is pretty fun. Like it's a lot to look at. Personally, I like this one better because I think it'll be fun in getting lots of kills. And in a gang, I think a gang of these would be really mean, just because it's so much damage. Like you get 5 of these, you're doing 5,000 DPS, and you have 5 webs and 5 scrams in the middle of it. In fact, with a gang, you could probably swap out these mid slots. I'll probably have to look at some CPU stuff to put in a warp disruptor, but you can mix and match the mid slots if you had 5 of them and do lots of damage. So I wouldn't do 5 of these though. A lot of people always say, "Hey Jeff, we should go do triple rep blah blah blahs or dual rep these things," and triple reps and dual reps don't really translate well into a gang environment because 976 DPS tanked is great solo against 1 guy or maybe 2 smaller ships. It's not so good against 3 or 4 enemies. You probably won't get to cycle all your AR if you get shot. So yeah, so definitely this shield tanked one's awesome option for gangs. This one's good for real solo, and if you're a baller and you can throw in a link ship, and maybe upgrade the standard booster to a strong booster, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Get a lot of kills with it, I'd say. Yeah, and this one for true solo, the buffer active tank ship is, I think, the best for no links. I just want to go and get kills. I don't want to worry about scouting. I don't want to worry about any of that stuff. I'm just gonna jump in, and whatever I jump into, unless it's a 30-man gang, you've at least got an option to deal with their tackle and leave. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for doing another video, Jeff. And for more videos, you can check out crossingzebras.com. For more articles, you can check out crossingzebras.com. Don't forget to subscribe at the link at the end of this video, and we'll see you next time.